The sound of my phone buzzing wouldn't stop. It was sitting on the kitchen counter, lighting up like a fire alarm. I tried to ignore it. But when I saw the words family group chat flashing on the screen, my gut twisted. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation. Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. One photo after another filled the screen. My sister Rachel standing in front of a massive two-story house with white columns and a sparkling new SUV in the driveway. She was holding a sold sign and grinning like she'd just won the lottery. Then came Mom's message. She deserves everything. Hard work pays off. My thumb froze. That line didn't sting because of what it said. It stung because of what it didn't. There was no, we were proud of both our girls. No mention of me at all. Just Rachel, the successful one. The family's golden child, the one who made it. I set the phone down, jaw tight. My husband, Noah, was at the breakfast bar flipping through some property documents. He looked up when he saw my expression. What's wrong? I turned the phone toward him. They're doing it again. He frowned, wiping his hands on a towel. Who? My family? Apparently Rachel just bought a house, and everyone's acting like she's the second coming of Steve Jobs. He walked around the counter and picked up the phone, scrolling through the messages. Mom's words were still glowing on the screen. She deserves everything. Noah smirked, his tone calm but cutting. You know, it's funny how they worship the loudest one in the room. They never notice the ones quietly building something real. I let out a bitter laugh. I could cure cancer, and they'd still ask what Rachel's wearing to dinner. Noah leaned against the counter, crossing his arms. You've always let them make you feel small. Maybe it's time you stop playing that part. The words hit harder than I expected. He wasn't wrong. For years, I'd played the peacekeeper, smiling at backhanded compliments, staying polite when they joked about me being the simple sister. But lately, I'd been done swallowing my pride. I looked back at the family chat. More photos had come in. Rachel inside her new kitchen, marble counters glistening. The caption read, "Our dream home." Then, Mom again, "So proud of you, sweetheart. You always make us proud." My throat tightened always. The message said everything it needed to. Noah reached for his phone. Want to see something? Before I could respond, I heard the faint click of his camera and the rustle of metal keys in his hand. He angled the phone toward me, a sly smile forming on his face. "Smile," he said. I blinked. "What are you?" Click. He'd taken a photo. Me standing near the floor-to-ceiling window of our living room, sunlight washing over me, holding the penthouse keys we just received 2 hours ago. "Noah," I whispered. Realization dawning. "You wouldn't." He grinned. "Oh, I would." A second later, my phone buzzed again. Family chat. Noah had sent one message. Just a simple text. "Congrats, Rachel." Followed by the photo he'd just taken me holding our penthouse keys. The city skyline glowing behind me. It was the kind of picture that didn't need explaining. Within seconds, replies poured in. "Wait, what? Is that where you live? Evelyn, what is this?" And finally, "Mom, what's going on?" I looked at Noah, speechless. "You just started a war." He shrugged, still smiling. I just ended a long silence. I typed a short message beneath the photo. While you were celebrating Rachel's new house, we were moving into our penthouse, keys in hand. Then I hit send. For a moment, nothing, absolute silence. Then the red marks appeared one by one. Everyone had seen it. No one dared to reply. Noah stepped closer, wrapping an arm loosely around my waist. "Feels good, doesn't it?" I let out a breath. I hadn't realized I was holding. "It's not even about the house," I whispered. "It's just nice not being invisible for once." He smiled softly. "You were never invisible, Evelyn." They just refused to look. I stared out the window, the city glittering below like 1,000 quiet victories. For years, I tried to earn my family's approval, hoping kindness would make them see my worth. But that night, watching their silence turn to envy, I realized something far more powerful. Respect doesn't come from begging for it. It comes from proving you don't need it. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Families like mine didn't handle humiliation gracefully. And as much as I wanted to believe they'd finally back off, part of me knew something darker was brewing behind that silence, because pride never dies quietly. The next morning, my phone rang before the sun was even up. I didn't need to check the screen to know who it was. The tone of the vibration felt familiar. My mother's calls had that energy, the kind that demanded to be answered. Even when every part of you wanted to ignore it, I hesitated for a second, then picked up. "Morning, Mom." Her voice came through sharp and tight. "Is this true, Evelyn? You bought a penthouse." I leaned against the counter, still half asleep. "Yes, Mom, we did." A dry laugh crackled through the line. "Well, that's quite a leap, isn't it? You and Noah, a penthouse." The way she said it like it was a punchline made my stomach tighten. "Why does that sound like an insult?" "Oh, don't start," she snapped. "I'm just saying your sister has been saving for years. She earned what she has. You and Noah, well, you've always been practical people." There it was again. That word practical. In her dictionary it meant ordinary, plain, less than. "Mom," I said calmly, "we didn't fall from the sky into this place. Noah's company grew and I helped build it. We worked for this." "You helped," she repeated with a small chuckle. "Sweetheart, you do marketing posts online. Rachel runs real estate projects. There's a difference." I bit my lips so hard it almost hurt. "Right, because I didn't follow your version of success. Don't take that tone with me, Evelyn. I just don't want you embarrassing yourself with things you can't afford." "Embarrassing myself," I repeated slowly. "Do you hear yourself right now?" "Of course I do. You've always been too sensitive. This is why." I ended the call before she could finish. My hands were trembling, but not from weakness, from fury. Noah looked up from across the room, coffee mug in hand. "Let me guess." She didn't say congratulations. I laughed bitterly. She basically called me a liar who's living beyond her means. He set his mug down and crossed the room, his tone low but steady. "You don't have to prove anything to her." "I know," I said, my voice softening. "But it's not just about her, it's about them. Every single time they've treated me like a footnote in Rachel's success story." Noah studied me for a moment, then smiled faintly. "Then, let's give them a story they won't forget." Before I could ask what he meant, the doorbell rang. It was Rachel. She stood in the hallway in an expensive beige coat, sunglasses still on even though it was barely dawn. Her smile was thin, polite, performative. I thought I'd stop by before our family lunch. "Congratulations on the big purchase." Her eyes flicked past me, scanning the interior like a critic in a museum. "So, this is the famous penthouse." "Come in," I said, forcing civility. She stepped inside, heels clicking against a marble. Her gaze landed on the view, the skyline stretching out across the city. "Whoa," she said softly, then turned to me. "I'll admit, I didn't expect this." "Didn't expect what?" I asked. "That you'd actually pull this off," she said, smiling like she'd just given a compliment. "I mean, with how quiet you've been about things, I figured Noah must have come into some inheritance or something." The air between us went still. Noah's voice broke it. "No inheritance," he said from behind her. "Just years of hard work and late nights from both of us." Rachel turned, still smiling, but with a flicker of discomfort in her eyes. Of course," she said quickly. I didn't mean anything by it, but she did. She always did. We stood there in a strange silence, the hum of the city below filling the space between us. Finally, she turned back toward the window. "You know, Mom was really shocked. She thought maybe it was just a rental or something." I folded my arms. "Tell Mom she's welcome to visit any time. Maybe then she'll believe what she sees." Rachel's expression faltered for a second, the smile slipping just enough to show the envy underneath. I'm sure she'll find the time. She left soon after, but the energy she brought lingered like smoke. That afternoon, the family lunch group chat lit up again. Mom, Rachel, uncles, cousins, everyone chiming in about how big Rachel's house was, how rare it was for someone her age to afford that. No one said a word about me, not one. Until Noah texted, "Funny how silence says more than words. Maybe it's time you stop pretending one daughter exists." Then he added a new photo. Me standing on our balcony looking out at the skyline. The chat exploded. "Why are you showing off? We're happy for Rachel too. Don't compare sisters." But Mom's message came last. "Evelyn, you're becoming arrogant. You've changed." I stared at the screen, pulse pounding. For once, I didn't delete the app. I didn't apologize. I simply typed, "You're right. I have changed. I finally learned to stop shrinking so you could feel tall." Then I set my phone down and walked out to the balcony. The wind brushed my hair back as the city lights flickered below. For years, I'd been the quiet one, the peacekeeper, the supportive sister. The one who never demanded recognition. But that quiet was over. This time, I wasn't waiting for their approval. This time I had something louder than words, a life they couldn't belittle anymore. And as the skyline glowed against the fading sunset, I whispered to myself, they'll never look down on me again. The family dinner felt like walking into a trap dressed as celebration. Mom had insisted on hosting at Rachel's new house. "It'll be good for everyone to reconnect," she'd said. Translation: "Let's parade Rachel's success again." The moment I stepped through the glass doors, I felt every eye flick toward me. Rachel's living room gleamed with staged perfection, fresh flowers, sparkling countertops, and laughter that sounded just a little too forced. "Oh, look who finally made it," Rachel said, sweeping in with a wine glass. Her tone was sugar-coated, but the gleam in her eyes was all competition. "I wasn't sure you'd come, given how busy you must be up there in your fancy penthouse." A few relatives chuckled. My mother didn't. She just looked at me with that cold smile she'd mastered. Half polite, half disapproving. "I hope you're not overworking yourselves, dear. These city places can drain people fast." Noah's hand brushed mine under the table. "We're doing great," he said smoothly. "Business is strong. Actually, we've been discussing expanding." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "Expanding, yeah," Noah continued. "We're finalizing a deal with the developer downtown. It's gonna double our portfolio this year." The table went quiet. Forks paused. "Madare." Even Mom looked stunned for a split second before regaining her composure. "Well," she said tightly, "Rachel's husband is also branching out in real estate. Perhaps you too could." "Not really our lane," Noah cut in politely. "We deal with larger properties, corporate and luxury spaces." Rachel's smile froze, her fingers tightening on her glass. "Corporate," she echoed. I leaned back, calm, but deliberate. "Actually, the new development you're talking about on 5th Avenue. Rachel's eyes snapped toward me. "Yes, what about it? We're the ones funding it." Her expression faltered. "What?" Mom blinked in confusion. "I thought that project belonged to." "It did," Noah said quietly. "Until last week. We bought it out." The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Every relative at the table stared at us like we just revealed a family secret. Rachel's laugh came out forced. "You're joking." "No," I said softly, meeting her eyes. I just didn't feel the need to announce it in a group chat. The color drained from her face. Even Mom looked like someone had cut the ground from under her. How could you afford that?" she demanded. "Do you have any idea what kind of money we're talking about?" Noah looked her dead in the eye. "We do. We earned it." The air in the room shifted. The same people who'd ignored me for years suddenly couldn't stop staring. I could see the calculation behind their eyes. The slow, uncomfortable realization that maybe, just maybe, they'd underestimated the wrong daughter. Rachel slammed her glass down. "So, What now, Evelyn? You expect us to bow down to congratulate you? I smiled faintly. No. I expect you to stop pretending I'm invisible. Mom stood abruptly, her chair scraping. You're being dramatic. Family isn't a competition. I laughed under my breath. It's never a competition when Rachel wins, right? But the moment I stop playing small, suddenly it's dramatic. The silence stretched. The clinking of cutlery had stopped entirely. I stood smoothing my dress. You know what? Enjoy dinner. You don't have to like what I've achieved, but you'll remember it. As Noah and I walked toward the door, no one stopped us. Not even Mom. Outside, the air was cool, crisp, and freeing. Noah glanced over. You okay? I smiled, a little shaky, but steady inside. Better than okay. For once, I don't care. Who claps? I just know I built this life, and they can't take that away. The lights from Rachel's perfect house faded behind us, swallowed by the city skyline ahead. And for the first time in my life, their silence felt like peace. By the time we reached our penthouse that night, the city lights were burning brighter than ever. Streaks of gold reflected off the glass walls, as if the skyline itself was applauding. I kicked off my heels, sinking onto the sofa. My heart was still racing, but it wasn't from anger anymore. It was adrenaline, the kind that comes when you finally stop holding back. Noah poured 2 glasses of champagne, setting one in front of me. You handled that perfectly, he said with a grin. I laughed softly. I think Mom might actually combust tonight. She'll survive, he said, sitting beside me. People like her need a wake-up call once in a while. I took a slow sip, feeling the burn fade into warmth. You know what's funny? I said. For years, I used to replay every family dinner in my head, wondering what I could have said differently. I wanted them to see me just once, and tonight, I didn't need them to. Noah leaned closer because now you see you. His words hit deeper than I expected. I looked out at the skyline, the one I used to dream of from a tiny apartment window years ago. Back then, success felt like something reserved for people like Rachel. Loud, confident, effortlessly adored. But now, sitting here in a place we'd earned brick by brick, I realized how wrong I'd been. My phone buzzed on the table. One new message from Mom. I hesitated before opening it. You embarrassed the family tonight. You didn't have to make everything a competition. But I saw the article Noah was featured in. You two have done well. I didn't know. I stared at the words, my chest tightening. It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was the closest thing I'd ever gotten. Then another message appeared from Rachel this time. Guess I underestimated you. That place is incredible. Congrats. For a moment, I didn't know what to feel. Relief. Bitterness. Maybe both. But mostly, I felt calm because for once, their approval didn't matter. I set the phone face down and turned toward Noah. They finally see me, I said quietly. But not because I shouted louder, because I stopped letting them define what success looked like. He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. That's what makes you dangerous, Evelyn. You don't fight to prove a point. You win by living better. I laughed softly, leaning into him. The noise of the city buzzed beneath us. Cars, sirens, the hum of life. It was chaotic, imperfect, alive, just like me. As the night deepened, I stepped out onto the balcony, the wind catching my hair. From up here, everything that used to hurt seemed small. Every insult, every condescending look. Every moment I'd been made to feel lesser. I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo of the view. The city glowing under the moonlight. Then, without thinking too much, I posted it to the family chat with a simple caption. To quiet victories. No response came, and I didn't need one. Noah joined me a moment later, sliding his arm around my shoulders. Feels different now, doesn't it? Yeah, I said, smiling faintly. This isn't revenge, this is peace. He nodded. That's the best kind there is. The breeze carried the faint sound of traffic far below, like applause fading in the distance. For the first time in years, I wasn't competing, proving. or chasing validation. I'd already won. Not against them, but against the version of myself who once believed she wasn't enough. And as I looked out over the glowing city, I whispered the words I wish someone had said to me years ago. You were always enough. They just couldn't see it. Then I smiled because now finally I